Hey there, you're listening to the Scale to Sell podcast, the business owner's podcast to help you grow and exit your business, where we share with entrepreneurs like you the tactical and practical things you can do so that you can win at work and life. I'm Adam Burton, part of the father-son duo behind the Scale to Sell team, and I, along with my dad Steve and the rest of the team, are here to help you be able to get the clarity that you need to help grow your business and exit on your terms. Now, before we get into the episode, I wanted to let you know about a special opportunity. Knowing the value of your business and what you can get for it is crucial when it comes to planning, something that we talk about often here on the Scale to Sell podcast. If you're interested in having a free annual estimate of value done for your business, go to scaletosell.com/discovery. That's scaletosell.com/discovery. Or you can click the link in the show notes below in order to book that call where we can talk about that and get that free estimate of value in place. Again, to help get you started on the right track with the clarity that you need to make the right kinds of decisions to grow and exit your business, go to scaletosell.com/discovery now. This is episode 19, Scale with the End in Mind. So if you've listened to the podcast or you've read the Business Builder Thursday emails, you've probably heard us use the phrase scale with the end in mind before. For us, that's a phrase that we keep coming back to, that's important for business owners to keep in mind. Steve, why is it so important for a business owner to think about their business with the end in mind?
Because if you're ready to exit, you're ready to grow. On the other side, if you're not ready to exit, you may not be ready to grow your business. It's that simple. You should always keep the end in mind at all times. In talking about some of the strategies, every 90 days, you should, in your mind, reevaluate your business, look at the value, but at least once a year. Look at the value of your business and the steps, and if it's ready to grow, it's ready to exit. You got people, processes. You're set and positioned well to do either. You should be ready to go and transition because life changes very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. So today we're going to talk about 4 key reasons and kind of build off of that with our conversation today about why scaling with the end in mind is important. So the first one that we're going to talk about, scaling with the end in mind, is important because it distinguishes value from profit or other metrics that we could see. So what is the difference between value and profit?
Everybody measures profit all the time. You look at how much revenue you drive into the business. You look at how much you're paying yourself, your lifestyle, and everybody focuses on that. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. But value is what the capital market will pay for your business at that moment in time. And typically, value increases your profitability and/or it gives you the opportunity to have more free time. Myself included, for decades, I was out working in my businesses, willing to put in 50, 60, 70 hours a week. And sometimes, many times, fortunately, I got to the point where I was making good money. But it doesn't mean that the business was sellable in the capital market.
Well, yeah, we talk about transferable value and the need to not just think of things in terms of maybe what's your income now and is your income as you've seen it over the last few years going up, or what are the trends in that way, but what is someone willing to pay for it and what are you going to be able to get for that work that you've put into it? And sometimes business owners have become such the central focus of where that the revenue comes from, the sales or their key relationships with the clients, that when it comes time to actually sell the business, there's really not much to sell because they don't have the teams, the processes, the systems in place to be able to really add value for that business buyer.
We've seen businesses doing millions, tens of millions of dollars, and had when evaluation was done, when you really looked at beyond the numbers, you looked under the hood, the things you just mentioned. We've talked about that here before. What are they buying? In my situation, I was the number one salesperson. I'm the one that puts out the fires when people call in and have a challenge or situation. I'm a financial advisor. I've owned other businesses, and I was the end all to everything. Every floated up to me. Well, I've realized that I had to change that if I wanted to bring value and have a life now and not have to be there every second of every day.
Yeah, be able to win at work and life. You can have those, but a lot of times business owners don't know how to achieve that. So that's important, distinguishing value from profit, because if you have the focus of you're growing your value, oftentimes that means you're growing your profit, but it's not just the short term, what's happening here and now. You're also thinking ahead to when it's time for you to exit the business and what you're going to be able to get from it then. That's a great point there. The second one that we're going to talk about of why it's important to scale with the end in mind, it gives direction to your growth. So we could say it this way: knowing where you're growing, so to speak, is crucial because it's going to save you time, make money, reduce frustration and the wasted opportunities, because you're not just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. You're being intentional with how you're trying to grow. You're growing towards an intended goal, not just trying the next shiny object that you see online.
And you know, we get so involved in our business, we think we know everything. But, you know, sometimes being part of a, you know, in your industry, in your area, a mindset group where you can mastermind group, where you can get together and bounce ideas off, very valuable. Or in our situation, we have a team of experts that we bring in. So whatever your situation is, whatever that part of your business that needs to improve on it, to improve profitability, value, and or work-life balance. You know, as a baby boomer myself, you know, willing to put the blood, sweat, and tears, work however many hours in the week to get it done. I will tell you that the younger generation, your generation, is wanting that holistic. They want it both. Yeah. They want the profitability, but they want to have a life and being able to go out and do things. Well, I'm starting to lean toward your way right now because I've had the other way. And after a while, it gets old. After decades of, it's profitable. I've made a lot of money, but now I'm looking at creating value for myself, my companies.
Absolutely. You want to be able to enjoy one of the most precious resources that we have, time, with the people that you care about. And so having a business that is both profitable, that is valuable, that you can step away from and not have to be working in every single second for it to be, you know, to stay on the track and to do those sorts of things. To be able to step away and have that time is important. And again, scaling with the end in mind helps you accomplish that.
I'll add to it, you know, when your people bought into your vision, when they see what, and you're including them in on your vision, it's not just about you and making money for you, but when they see opportunities, and we've talked about all these things before, but when they see the vision and now they're bought in, now they will solve the problems. Now they will get a lot more creative. They act like owners, even in some cases when they're not owners.
Well, and it's important too, thinking about what your objectives are in creating alignment with your team. Right. I was just reading the book recently, Measure What Matters by John Doerr, and he's looking at all of these top companies like Google, Microsoft. How did they grow in the way that they did and have the success that they were able to have? And some of the key examples in that book that he cites are talking about what happens when you don't have clear lines of communication between the different departments or the different teams within your team. And sometimes you had people working on things that if they would have simply talked, if they would have known that, hey, this was the company objective, this is where we're scaling to, it would have saved them because they each ended up developing a very similar product or using a similar product. And so they had two different ways of doing it, two different strategies. So it wasted time and money and effort. When if they would have just known, if they would have been able to communicate around this key objective, scaling with that kind of objective in mind there, they could have worked together, worked more efficiently, got the task done way simpler, way faster than what they really did. And so it gives that direction to growth that is not just trying everything out there and seeing what works. It's being more intentional with the resources that you have.
Understanding the value of your business, what you're working on at any point in time. We try to work on personal things for the business owner to improve themselves personally, to free up time, to make sure they're pointing in the right direction. The business, the 5 things, maybe it's one thing that you're trying to fix per quarter. And but yes, everybody on the same page with a vision, empowering them to take their thoughts seriously. People they want to not just earn a paycheck. The top talent in this country are looking for opportunity.
Absolutely.
Looking to be rewarded, looking to be included in a mastermind group and being rewarded for doing so. They will step up. The top tier, your top 20% will step up and make your business more valuable if you empower them.
So number 3 is it helps you fully prepare for the 3 key parts of a successful exit. So scaling with the end in mind is going to help you because you're going to be able to prepare, unlike most business owners, for the 3 key parts of the exit that we often talk about: the business, the financial, and the personal. So Steve, can you share with us a little bit about what those 3 parts consist of?
You know, and you think about it when, if an employee comes to me, I'm a financial advisor. If an employee comes to me, maybe there's a pension involved, maybe not. They have a 401k. They know what their income is. We look at Social Security benefits. We determine what their income need is. Well, businesses are a little bit more complicated because most of the time we don't know the value of the business. And so income. I tell people all the time, retirement's about income. It doesn't matter how big of the buck of the money is if it doesn't last, if it doesn't provide the income. So back to it. 3 parts of a successful exit. Personal finances. Where you personally have you taken and set aside, harvested some assets out of the business? Maybe it's a 401k, maybe it's other assets, maybe it's real estate. Have you harvested enough personal assets? What does the income need to be? What's the value of your business? What realistically can you harvest from the business, and how are we going to harvest that? Is it enough? Is it going to be enough? Is the value of the business enough to top off your tanks? And then lastly, so personal finance, business finance, and third, what am I going to do? If I'm working all these daggone hours, what am I going to do when I don't have to work all these hours? And people go, well, I'm going to retire. What does that mean? You know, you got to golf, pickleball, travel, fish. You got to have a game plan is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, and for a lot of business owners, they're used to being the ones that are producing things. They're used to being the ones that are working hard, creating, and to suddenly flip that switch and to be in a different phase of life where you're not feeling that value, that worth of having those accomplishments, it can be a big deal if you're not prepared for it going into retirement. And that's why we see the stats of the people that do successfully sell, 70% after a year later are dissatisfied with it because they really weren't ready for it. They hadn't separated their identity from the business in a way that was going to allow them to really flourish in that next chapter of their life. And that's really unfortunate. They've built up an incredible thing to be able to sell and to be able to fund that next phase of their life. And then they have a hard time enjoying it because they really weren't ready. They didn't know how to go about doing that from a business, financial, and personal perspective.
You know, a lot of business owners would like to keep the business forever. They've actually said it. In some studies have said they would keep the business forever, but they get burnout. And then that's not the greatest time to sell a business when you have burnout in the business on the downward side. But if you have these processes in place, whether you're ready to exit or grow, if you have these teams, processes, everything in place, then you can cut back. You don't have to be at the office all the time. You're not the best salesperson. You don't have to handle every fire that happens. If somebody needs to be replaced, you have teams of people to do it. So an exit strategy is maybe just having things in place that allows you to retain ownership or exit the business if you want to. Always, if you're ready to exit, I can't say it enough. If you're ready to exit, it gives you more time, makes you more valuable, makes you more profitable. And you said it earlier, it starts with the value. You got to know the value of the business and what the strengths and weaknesses are and try to enhance all of those categories.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to know where to go if you don't know where you are currently. And it's hard to know where you're wanting to go if you don't take the time to think about these things and to maybe consider things that you wouldn't normally, but having an exit team there behind you kind of helps you think through because they've been there before.
Let me say this really quickly. You know, we're on a mission here. I'm on a mission, written a few books, and I've got one in mind right now. But, you know, and only about 20 to 30% of all businesses ever successfully sell. We say that all the time. I want to flip that. It's going to take some time. We've assembled a team. We're growing our team of M&A experts, tax planners, attorneys, and financial advisors to make sure that whether you're looking to scale your business and or just whether it's I want to increase it to 80% success rate, only a 20% failure. And I'd like to go to 100%, but I don't know that that's realistic. But have a great life along the way. Be more profitable, more time to spend with your family, because you're right. All of a sudden you're working so hard, you miss the ball games, you miss all these, the child activities, your kids are grown and gone, and now your grandkids, that same thing. Time goes by in a blink of an eye.
Can't get it back, right? You could make more money, with different things, but you can't get that time. So the last one, you actually started to head this direction with one of your previous answers. And the idea of scaling with the end in mind is important because it helps reduce burnout or frustration. So often we see this in the stats, we see this in the stories that we hear of business owners who waited until they were ready to exit to really start planning their exit. And that is a very difficult, a very challenging time to really start that conversation, because the exit process takes time. It takes some consideration if you're going to do it the right way, if you're going to make sure that the business legacy that you're leaving is going to continue. So why is that such a big deal in terms of helping reduce burnout and frustration on the part of a business owner?
You want to sell the business when it's profitable. You want to sell because typically when you get burnout, you start easing up on things. You start getting sloppy. Things start to fade back. You're losing employees. It becomes more and more stressful because things are added to your plate. So we've told a few businesses recently where one of my M&A experts, well-credentialed, did a valuation, estimate of value, and they weren't businesses. One that had been around for 45 years had no value. The marketplace, burnout, waited things till things slowed down, and now his challenges, it's jammed him up. He's in a box, and what's he do? He doesn't own the real estate. Business is challenging, and I don't know what's going to happen right there. In other cases, liquidation may be the best option to exit a business. You have assets and real estate and other things, but that's not the greatest way. You really you think that if you put 10, 20, 30, 40 years into a business, you've created possibly millions of dollars. So do not wait to burn out, because that is a bad time typically to be selling your business. You probably will not get out of the business what you want, and it may not be marketable to the capital markets at all.
Well, and what we've seen time and time again is that typically those situations where someone is burnt out, is in this place of frustration, and they're not in the best position to be able to sell for the top multiple that they could in another situation, is that they've spent too much time working in the business and not on it.
Or seeking guidance. Seek guidance. If you're in a challenge situation, I promise you somebody's been there, done that before, almost in every situation. Seek guidance.
Absolutely. Well, we talked a couple episodes ago about the idea of the dumb tax, right? It pays, or you pay for what you don't know, for making decisions based on inaccurate or incomplete information. And that so often is one of the areas that we see this issue come up, is people are so busy just doing the day-to-day grind of things that they don't have the time to be able to cast the vision for the company, mentor the people to really take over those roles that the business owner has been doing since day one. And so there's nothing really, going back to the issue of value, there's nothing really to transfer. And that's really unfortunate to say, but having the team like we've assembled here at Scale to Sell to be able to come in and help you understand how to create value, how to have those both tangible and intangible, we talk about the intangible assets a lot, that can really help alleviate that concern, that the feelings of burnout, the frustration that comes along with feeling like you have to do everything, that you're responsible for every single aspect of the business and its growth and things like that, to be able to solve that, to alleviate that pressure, get you in a place to where you're on the right track to scale your business with the end in mind, and to be able to enjoy life and not feel like you have to make a rushed or a rash decision when it comes to how you exit the business, because you didn't have the time to plan because you didn't schedule the time to plan.
I will also tell you that some of you have the thought or your dream is to turn the business over to your kids or somebody internally. Well, if you don't have all these things set up, do they have the same skill sets, the same mindset, the work, the drive to continue on? Will it be successful? It's better to hand them something that's well-designed, running at optimal levels, and hand it off to them so potentially they can take it even to a higher level than you would, which would be your dream. Especially if you're going to self-finance it over time. You don't want to see your dream crash and burn and you're back in the business. Or, God forbid, something happens to your health because of that stress and burnout, and now you can't do what you're doing. What happens not only just in the exit for retirement, but what happens in your business if it's not set up properly? Would somebody there be able to continue on and keep that money flowing? And if you haven't done the business financing and the personal planning of what to do afterwards, it's a lot to consider, but that's why you assemble a team. It's kind of like a board of directors. You have some experts around you. It's a board of directors. And some of these people come into your life for a season. Some will be there forever, right? And from a financial advisor standpoint, you may have a financial advisor, but if they're not used to working with business owners and exiting and how to do it properly, all right, then that's a big thing. You could have more than one financial advisor, by the way.
Well, and there's some pretty particular needs that the business owner has and the challenges that come along with that need that kind of specialized information, that specialized types of advice to make sure that you're doing the right thing, that you're setting yourself up for success, not just for you, not just for even the legacy of the company, but for the generations to come. Seriously. I
would tell you, if there was one thing, in some of our studies, one thing that motivates business owners over 70% of the time is a triggering event. Sometimes it's a bad thing. Sometimes you got a health issue, a partner, something happened in the industry. But a triggering event, if you really knew the value of your business and how much you can improve that value, the triggering event is getting that estimate of value, Adam. I can't highly encourage people enough to go to ScaleToSell.com. What is it? /discovery?
/discovery, yeah.
There you go, and get that free. This is a qualified, one of the best and most highly credentialed M&A experts in the industry. I don't care if it's a small business, mid-market, large volumes, whatever it is. It will give you an estimate of value. Publicly traded companies, everybody knows the value of that company, all right? But I'm talking about, you're talking about a small market, $500,000 in sales below, $500,000 to $5 million, $5 million to $100 million. That's when you want to know your numbers and the value of it and improve that value.
Absolutely. If you're ready to move past the confusion, the frustration of growing your business and making sure that you can exit on your terms, I'd encourage you, like Steve was saying, go to ScaleToSell.com /discovery. Let's get that conversation started. Let's talk about your estimate of value, getting that done so that you can have the clarity that you need to make the right kind of decisions for you, for the health of your business, for the sake of your family and the future legacy that you're trying to leave. If you liked this episode and want to hear more from Scale to Sell, please follow the podcast and whatever your favorite podcast platform of choice is. As a new and growing podcast, rating and reviewing the podcast can be incredibly helpful so that more entrepreneurs like yourself can discover the podcast and join our growing community of business owners. And remember, if you haven't signed up for the Business Builder Thursday emails, make sure that you go to ScaleToSell.com and make sure you sign up for those so that you never miss out on those opportunities that we have here at Scale to Sell. Until next time, keep scaling.
Thank you for listening to Scale to Sell with Adam Burton and Steve Burton. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.scaletosell.com or give us a call at 757-313-4080. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Scale to Sell. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing, tax, legal, or other advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professionals with any questions you may have regarding your personal or professional plans. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.